Welcome to the Three Championship Drive podcast on YouTube, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Follow me on X at Lance Caporossi, the same way you see it spelled on the screen. And check out the Three Championship Drive podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to hit the follow button over there and leave us a review. And do us a favor. Tell a Pistons fan.
You almost had it.
I almost did. Yeah, I know.
You're getting better. Honestly, you're getting better. I think the end really scuffs you out. You miss it.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but I have it all written down. And then I decided I want to add something.
You got to hold your phone up in the shower and just rehearse it.
Don't you hate that though? Like when you're in the shower, you have the best thoughts, but you have no way of writing anything down. I hate it.
Yeah, it could be a good idea, like some type of whiteboard in the shower with like non-washable markers like that. I think that could be a good idea.
There we go. $1 billion idea right there. There's a lot of thinkers in the shower.
Got on Amazon.
All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about the 2024 NBA Draft Lottery. We got the results. The Pistons, the beloved Detroit Pistons, are drafting fifth again, third year in a row after they secured the worst record in the NBA like they have all 3 years. They're going fifth again. It's unbelievable how this continues to happen for the Detroit Pistons. I was watching this with anticipation. 14, 13, 12. Then we jump to 9, then 7, then 6, and then there's that fifth. And you're already seeing the top 4 teams. It's like Houston has a chance for a top 4 pick. San Antonio has a chance for a top 4 pick. And I don't know if there was any more teams in those last 2 spots, but I was like, oh, here we are, fifth. Let's see who is getting this. And then Mark Tatum holds up that sign, and then Asar Thompson just laughs.
The best face, dude, he's a meme. He's a meme for Detroit for at least the next 5 years. Because you could tell he was pissed, dude. Like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, what is this? Like, I know we're going to end up talking more about the lottery and how I think you put in notes that we're going to talk about whether it's rigged or not. But yeah. Jesus Christ, man. 3, dude, does a good thing come in 2s or 3s? What's the saying? Because
I think it's death comes in 3s.
Oh, well then fuck. Dude, is that what it is? Is this the death of the Pistons franchise? Like, what's happening to us? What did we do to deserve this? Why are we watching bad basketball for 3 years straight and we're gonna draft another fucking Asar Thompson? I don't understand what we got to do, man. Lance, can we fix the lottery?
We'll get into it in a second. I promise we'll get into it in a second. But I just want to hear, because you were probably asleep when it happened. You probably woke up to like an ESPN alert or something to your phone.
Yes.
So you wake up to whatever woke you up today. Your alarm, I don't know, a bad dream. I don't know, maybe a beautiful woman. I have no idea. Maybe all 3. Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, single moms out there. Tune into the podcast.
But were you happy or were you disappointed? Like, what was your thought process when you saw that alert on your phone?
I literally, so it wasn't an ESPN notification. It was a fire truck from across the street because apparently people want to burn giant piles of leaves in my area right now. But anyway, I got 2 texts, 2 text messages. One was from my mother. Bless her soul. Love her. Happy Mother's Day out there. 2 was my friends making fun of me because I'm on the Pistons podcast, and we now have our 3rd year in a row, 5th overall pick. And honestly, even Lance, when we did our countdown, you got mad at me that I didn't say the thing at the same time as you on our last one. And I said 2, you said 3. How the fuck did we both miss? Like, this is ridiculous, man.
Because I didn't want to believe. There were so many fans telling me, hey, we're drafting 5. We're drafting at 5. We're drafting at 5. So many people said it. A lot of my friends, they texted me as well. And I wanted to be positive. I wanted to say, no, we're finally getting a top 3 pick outside of drafting Cade with the number 1 overall pick. We're getting another one. We're getting a top 3 pick. But honestly, like, I am disappointed with where the Pistons landed. And I'll get into it in a second. But even though I don't even believe Troy Weaver and company would make the right decision, so I don't even know why I'm disappointed. Like, because I know that they're gonna miss the mark on what Cade Cunningham needs to succeed. and to actually finally win some games in Detroit, I know they're going to miss the mark. So whether they're drafting 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, they're gonna make the wrong decision, and I hate to disappoint Pistons fans that way, but until the president of basketball operations is hired, I don't trust Troy Weaver and whoever else is in the front office to make the right decision, and yeah, I don't believe in him. I don't believe in these guys.
I agree. I agree. And it's really shitty to say that. Like, it's so sad that we have no hope.
Mhm.
Whatever location that we are between 1 through 600, it doesn't matter. Like, but the only positive that I can say about this though is what I've noticed with, and I think I've been doing this over a little over a month now with you, which also very thankful for getting the opportunity to do so. But we've talked so much about all these upcoming players, right? Like we did
Yep.
our scouting reports. We talked about Pistons fit. We talked about where they could be located. I think this draft is a, honestly, you can't really miss. There's so many guys. It's like it's the most average draft I've seen in a very long time. I feel like a lot of these guys between 1 through 20, I think all are in a good ballpark to being successful. I don't think there's a lot of superstars like we've seen in the last couple. So I think with getting the fifth over pick, it's good and it's bad. Because if we get the number one and we take Sarr and his bust, then we're just laughed at again. But at 5, really, I don't think we can do no wrong. Because I'm sure we're not going to trade this pick for any type of free agent. I think we're probably going to end up using it. But it's kind of good for Troy as well because he's given the 5th overall pick. He doesn't have the opportunity to really mess it up like he has.
I was I was thinking about this day before the draft lottery happened. I'm like, man, if the Pistons do get the number 1 overall pick, which I didn't want to happen, like even though I do like Alex Sarr and I think he's going to be a fantastic player, but there's a part of me where I wanted to go in that 2 to 3 range because I felt like if the Pistons went with got the first pick, they would without a doubt, it would be Alex Sarr. You have to draft Alex Sarr number 1. And I feel like that's what Atlanta's gonna do because the potential is just through the roof compared to every single player right now. I mean, just because he's 7'1", he can run the floor like a guard, he can handle the ball, he can shoot outside, he can defend, he can switch, like he can it's just his game is if he just even scratched the surface with one finger, he's gonna be an awesome player. But that's why I didn't want and it's like it sounds crazy saying like I didn't want the Pistons to draft number 1 to take this guy because there's also that fear like, oh, he's just gonna bust. And with that number 1 overall pick, even though people are saying, oh, it could be anybody, it could be Ricochet, it could be Buzelis, it could be Rob Dillingham. No, it's going to be Alex Sarr no matter what. Like you have to take Alex Sarr with the number 1 overall pick. But I thought with 2 or 3, it leaves you open to go in multiple different directions with the draft versus going number 1 overall. And I do feel the same way with the 5th pick, but again, I just don't expect them to make the right pick. Like even if the Pistons had picks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you could give them 5 chances. They're probably not drafting the right player. Like I just don't trust these guys. So with the 5th pick, I expect the Detroit Pistons to avoid drafting a project player and go with an instant impact player. But what are your thoughts on that? You think they should go the project route, or do you think they should go with like a guy they think can help immediately starting day 1?
So you're saying you're happy that we're not number 1 overall because we don't have to make that lock pick like we always have had
Yeah,
to in top situations?
because I feel like in a draft like this, even though there is really no clear cut number 1, I feel like Alex Sarr is the clear cut number 1, that there's going to be no conversation. You're really not going to be serious about working out other players because look, because you're going to be stupid if you don't draft Alex Sarr number 1. Even if he's a bust, 9 times out of 10, you got to take him with the number 1 overall pick. Because if you take anybody else and it doesn't pan out, you're just like, well, should have went with the 7'1" kid. I mean, it was obviously right in front of your face, and that's what
Yeah.
I was feeling. That's what I feel like.
So, like, I would say maybe this NBA draft could be kind of similar to the NFL draft this year with Caleb Williams. Like, it's a clear cut. There's no type of discrepancy. Guarantees since this has already happened, and now we know who's where in the pick, like in the selection. Maybe Atlanta only works out Alex Sarr, because that's what the Bears did with Caleb Williams. They saw other prospects, but they hung out with him the most because they knew that's who they were going to take. So maybe that'll actually help Sarr. And then if they're going to pick him and it's going to be a clear cut number one pick, you also got to figure out what you're going to do with your backcourt if you're going to keep him or you're going to get rid of him, which then you could flex more draft picks for whoever you want to get rid of and bring in. So, but with what you said about at number 5, getting someone, basically you're saying either like at least a rotation man, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying, do you go with the project player where, he does have a ton of potential, but he has a lot of holes in his game right now, and you're just kind of banking on him
We already have so many of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have so many of them. Or do you go with a guy like, I think an instant impact would be Donovan Cleon or Dalton Connect.
That's
guys like that.
Yeah, but it sucks because we're not in a win now mode.
Yeah,
like that's the hardest part about this is how many years in a row we can like end the season and not a win mentality to maybe get an opportunity to get one of these top guys, and we miss every single time. So would you say last year was a like kind of a win mentality in that draft with bringing on a Sarr? Like, or are we gonna? I think we're gonna go on the same route. We're gonna bring on someone that has potential, like a younger player, and then hopefully it pans out for us. I think that's what we're gonna do because we haven't been getting any guys with a ton of basketball like experience in college.
Yeah, I think Noah Sarr definitely was a project player, but I feel this year, who's ever making the decision with this 5th pick, they are unless it's, I don't know, unless you do get Tim Connolly, then whatever he decides. But I do feel like who is ever the president in making that decision, they are going to go for a guy that is going to be ready day one. Like a Dalton Connect. That's kind of my big fear, is that it is going to be Dalton Connect at number 5, because basically, or I mean, it could be Reed Shepherd, which I would be happier about because he is younger, and I think with his shooting, he could be ready to produce day one. But I feel like he'll be Dalton Connect because the organization cannot have another tanking season like they have the past 3 seasons. You cannot go into next year without guys ready to contribute and ready to play winning basketball. So with that 5th pick, you have to draft an instant impact player.
I know a ton of fans are upset. I mean, we're disappointed. We are.
Yeah,
we wanted better. We always want better. But you want to know who's not upset at this?
Who?
Troy Weaver. Why would he want the number 1 pick? If he botches two years in a row, he botches a number 1 and a number 2 overall, he doesn't have a job, Lance. Him constantly getting this 5th pick is showing like, oh, well, we just, we didn't get what we wanted. We got scuffed in the lottery again and blah, 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 blah. This is Troy Weaver's best friend. It's his lifesaver at this point because we don't expect him to find a gem or a needle in the haystack with this 5th overall pick. We don't. We're just hoping we get something out of it. And I think he celebrates. Like when that card went up, Asar's face became a meme. He opened up a bottle of champagne and was like, we might get another year out of this bitch because he doesn't have to make the big, you get what I'm saying though? Like he doesn't have to, he can fuck up and it'll still be okay. Like, so I think Troy Weaver is smiling. I don't think he cares. Like it's to the point where it's like, 3 in a row. Darn. We're mad. What are we going to do? The lottery sucks. Like
I guess with the 5th pick, I better just take best player available.
Exactly. Like I think that's where we're at, man.
Yeah, he's not drafting for fit with that 5th pick. He's not finding the right guy. I have lost all hope. Even looking back at all of his drafts, it's pretty funny because people are like, well, man, he found Cade Cunningham. Dude, Cade Cunningham was the consensus number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
And then and then he drafted 5th with Jaden Ivey, and you're like, well, he kind of was the best player available at the time, we all thought. So you had to, it wasn't really a tough decision. Like drafting Benedict Mathurin over Jaden Ivey, that would have been a tough decision. Maybe him, because then I would have been like, all right, like we're all in on Jaden Ivey, and that's what we wanted with the 5th pick. But you're drafting Benedict Mathurin with the 5th pick. You must see something in this guy in terms of his fit and what he can bring to the table that the guy that we all want can't. And then last year it was Asar Thompson because he's so super athletic. He's very good defensively. The only thing he's missing is the jump shot, and like the ball handling needs to be perfected. But again, like you're going with the best player available that has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was, I mean, if he had gone with like a Jarace Walker or Taylor Hendricks, I would have respected it a little bit more.
He literally is living life on the save card. Like that's what he's doing. And I am so jealous because he's crushing it, man. So the Cade I found Cade Cunningham. Are you kidding me?
There
Not
are
even
some fans
close.
that do say that.
I don't believe that at all. Like Cade Cunningham, like, yeah, sure. I thought when we got that lottery pick, I knew just like every other Pistons fan who we were going to take number 1 overall. We all did. I even tweeted it. I think the day back when I had a Twitter, like when we got it, I was like, Cade will be in Detroit. And was it a bad move? No. I think he has opportunity now. It's maybe his opportunity won't be with Detroit, but I think he have a very successful career in the NBA. But Troy you don't find at a number 1 overall pick. That's not a thing. Like I don't believe that at all. I think that he has literally been just scooting along with every single time we've dropped all the way to number 5 pick.
Well, we'll see what happens this year. Is the draft lottery rigged? This is a fun question for me. I want to say no, but the NBA makes it so tough to defend the draft lottery because you can go back to New Orleans when they lost Anthony Davis. The New Orleans Pelicans, they were owned by I think it was when they were trading Chris Paul, and I think they drafted, I might be mixing up my timelines. It might have been when they traded Anthony Davis. The NBA technically owned the New Orleans because he didn't have an owner. So they gift wrapped them the number 1 overall pick that turned out to be Zion Williamson. Or it might have been when they lost Chris Paul and they drafted Anthony Davis. Either way, it makes it hard to believe that the NBA draft lottery isn't rigged. Even like last year, we all knew San Antonio was going to draft Victor Wembanyama. We knew they were going to get the number 1 overall pick because the NBA didn't want him going to Detroit. They have no history of developing guys. So you send them to the team that has a history of drafting and developing very good big men like David Robinson, Tim Duncan. So you gift wrap them Victor Wembanyama. But I believe the Detroit Pistons have dug their own grave year after year after year after year. Because they elected not to spend any money last year in free agency and led them to win only 14 wins last year. They expected to build their team through the draft and reclamation projects, and the NBA said, no, that's not how it's done. So they got exactly what they deserved. I believe the NBA draft lottery is a good system. It's not a perfect system, but it makes it so bad teams can't tank their way to a franchise player. So even though we did get 5th and we have dropped 2 years in a row because we had the best odds to get the number 1 overall pick, even though we dropped, I believe it's still a good enough system in place to deter teams from actually trying to tank their way to a franchise player. So that's why I don't think the NBA draft lottery is rigged.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I feel like you could do. I think we've had the conversation of having some type of tournament at the end of the year with all the teams within the lottery have to play in a tournament to figure out seeding for it. I wouldn't be opposed to that, playing for a draft pick. Now, also with our conversation was, are players actually going to try and play in a tournament like that to earn draft capital? No one knows. But this system is not, I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think we're going to change. I think we're stuck with it. And like you said, we've been down this road before. And recently, like we just were on the road and we turned and we're on the same one. And I hate having to talk about it because a lot of people have mixed opinions on it for it being rigged or not. But it doesn't matter because this is the system that we live by. So,
well, remember when they used to like do the ping pong balls on TV?
I like that.
And you could see, like, I believe you can still watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Live, but I wish they would still do it on TV.
Yeah.
But again, there's always that conspiracy part of me, where I'm just like, yeah, maybe it is rigged. But also it still is it's a flawed system, but it's still a good system. And the Pistons, they shouldn't be rewarded for winning 14 wins. And I would be saying this about any team that I would want a podcast about, like if they were in the Pistons position. You win 14 games, you shouldn't be awarded the number one overall pick. You should. I like the odds the way they are. I do wish that if you're the worst team in the league, you're guaranteed a top 4 pick versus a top 5. But then again, we'd probably still be having the same conversation if they were drafting 4th. My question to you is, do you want them to change the system now so maybe it benefits a team that tanks next season, and the Pistons, let's say the Pistons aren't in position to get the number 1 overall pick next year and they change the system? I'd be a little pissed off about that.
Yeah, I think you can't make any type of adjustments to it, especially in the last couple of years of what it's done to certain teams. Because I think that'd be a problem because a Wembanyama can really change your franchise around. So that type of pick, I think we're stuck in the ways that we have it.
I
Now,
also
go
go
ahead.
on.
No,
No, I
go ahead.
was just gonna say that I think it's great that the Atlanta Hawks were a play-in team and they got the number 1 overall pick. I know there's a lot of basketball fans out there. They were kind of upset and complaining about Atlanta. I think it's great. I think that's why you have the lottery system, because they're right on the cusp. You should be rewarding teams that are in that basketball purgatory where they're too good to fully tank, but they're not good enough to actually win a championship. So, like, Atlanta shouldn't have to completely, you know, eliminate every player, trade every player, and get rid of every player from their roster
Yeah.
just to hopefully draft another franchise player.
Mhm.
They should be rewarded to add someone to their current group that pushes them over the top. So
Yeah.
I'm actually think it's pretty great for Atlanta basketball and Atlanta Hawk fans to be able to have the
I
number
mean,
1 overall
that
pick.
could always be us too. Like
Yep.
we could be in that position and it could happen and Atlanta could be the worst team in the league and it's just flip flop and roles reversed. Like it 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 just sucks that we've had bad luck. Like that's what we're just gonna call it because we're just gonna say the system's not flawed and it's not rigged. It's just our numbers haven't really fallen the way that we want them to. So, but we could go 2 or 3 years down the road and the same system could be placed and we could have the 5th overall pick and have a 1% chance for the number 1 and we get it out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So it's just how the system goes and we just got to keep playing it how it is. Like I don't think there's a reason to change it now.
I'm glad that we both agree on that. So I want to just talk about Asar Thompson just for a brief second. So he was one of the few bright spots last year for the Detroit Pistons, and he was rewarded with representing the Detroit Pistons at the draft lottery. Now, like we've already talked about a few times that we've mentioned, he became a meme with his smile after the Detroit Pistons get the 5th overall pick. But my question is, if you send a young player to the draft lottery, does it mean that the franchise expects them to be there long term, or is it just like, hey, he volunteered and he's going to be representing the Detroit Pistons? Because I think it means like there's no way they trade Asar Thompson this offseason after he represented them at the draft lottery. There's no way they do that.
I mean, crazier things have probably happened. I think Troy probably let all the players know, hey, like we want one of you guys to go represent, and then they all drew straws. Then Asar just got the shortest one and was like, "Oh, you have to go now." It's like I don't really want to, but I guess I'll be here for it. I don't think him going has anything to do with his future with the team. I mean, I think it's cool to see a rookie from someone get drafted last year go and experience that. I think that is pretty cool. But I don't think you had many volunteers from the Detroit Pistons team that wanted to go and be a part of this.
All right, fair enough. I think it means, but I'm going to take that step, and I really do think it means Asar Thompson's going to be here for as long as possible. In that Jalen Durden and Jaden Ivey are probably on their way out, and they should have represented the Pistons at the draft lottery if they wanted to stay. So Jon Horst, this topic is going to piss me off, but let me just share a little bit with you guys. The Detroit Pistons have been denied permission to interview Jon Horst for the president of basketball operations. This comes from Gary Wolfell. I believe I'm saying his name right, but I could be saying it wrong. So, according to sources, he had passive interest in the job, meaning his interest didn't last long. So, I'm a little disappointed because we talked last week that we both expected Jon Horst to be the guy in Detroit leading this team back to the promised land. And it's not going to be him. He has no interest. And this is what irritates me. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. I'm typically a better man than this, but John Randall Horst just became public enemy number one to me. You're going to deny the organization that gave you your start in professional basketball an interview because you're too scared and ill-equipped to take over a franchise that is in basketball hell. You feel like you can't help them get out of this place, this predicament. So you decide to stay. I'm going to stay in Milwaukee. I'm going to hide behind Giannis, where everything's all cushy, and everybody still praises me for the job John Hammond did. That's where you want to be. You're content sitting in Milwaukee, knowing that every one of those fans, they don't give you full credit for bringing that championship to Milwaukee because John Hammond, his fingerprints were still all over all that roster. You traded for Eric Bledsoe, but then you also traded him away, which was, I'll give him credit. It was a good move. You brought in Drew Holiday, but you also gave up on guys like Grayson Allen a little bit too early. Chris Middleton, Giannis, they were already there. What moves did you make to make them a championship contender when all the pieces were already in place? But now you have an opportunity to actually put your fingerprints on a team, to build it in your way, to really make a name for yourself, to be remembered by Pistons fans like us who want to see this great organization restored, but you deny them the chance to interview you. John Randall Horst, who became public enemy number one to me.
Man, you're a savage. You're a savage. You just called that guy's manlyhood out right on the Pistons podcast, 3 championship drive. Tell a Pistons fan, like, you just sent it at that guy. I think it is funny that he turned down the opportunity and he doesn't want to do it. I think it is funny. And with what you said, with the players that he's gained and what the players that he has released with his like little tenure that he's had with Milwaukee, it hasn't been great. So maybe that's a win for us that he doesn't even want to be a part of it. That's fine. I mean, I'm sure we'll find someone else. I'm sure there's candidates out there. Like, I think we'll be all right. Not too worried about it. But I think it is funny that you don't even want to have. I mean, I've applied for jobs just to have interviews, just to get experience for things. I mean, I don't see what it would have hurt to see what's going on and what they wanted to give you. Like, even if they want to kind of give you the keys of this little franchise train that we got going on right now, and he doesn't want to do it. I mean, that could be a win for us. He could not be as good as we want him to be, and we could just go through hell for another 5 years. So, but I like that you just went for the throat. Like, you went to end some careers. Like, I get it. I like it a lot.
Dude, well, we were talking about this last week, how good the job is in Detroit. And I think now you have like $64 million to play with in free agency. You have a top 5 pick. I mean, we already knew that before the lottery even happened, that was going to happen. You have young players that are expendable that can be traded for better players. There are rumors that some of these all-stars are available and can be had for the right price. So you have all of these things in your favor to build eventually a real contender. You have a franchise centerpiece in Cade Cunningham. He is, because that's what Cade Cunningham is. He's not a role player on another team. He's not a second option. He is a guy that you can actually build a team around. You already have that in place. So you already have some of the ingredients, but you just decide like, hey, no, I'm fine. I'm comfortable in Milwaukee. I get it. You know what I'm saying? It would be hard to give up the cushy job, sitting in the ivory tower that was built for you. So I don't know. It just pisses me off. I mean, like, I don't think I definitely wanted Tim Conley over Jon Horst, but just the fact that he denied them the opportunity to interview him when they were the ones that gave you your start in the NBA after coming out of little Rochester College, where you did win impressively 2 national championships with the team. I don't think he had anything to do with that, but he was on the team when that happened. So it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, and he is public enemy number 1 to me. And I will, if I go to a game where the Milwaukee Bucks are in town, I will boo them mercilessly, no matter what. Like, I am, and people won't even know why. They'll be like, dude, why are you doing this? I hate Jon Horst.
What's wrong with that guy? Oh, he doesn't like
personal vendetta now.
Like the GM or the president of basketball operations. Like, wow, that man's a savage. Ooh, that's funny, man. I do think I don't know. But does he owe the franchise to come back to take a job like that just because they hired him at the start of his career? I don't think he owes them that opportunity. And if he wants to, and if I'm not defending him, so don't roast me next show. I'm just saying, it's like I don't think he owes the Pistons organization for them bringing him in as a college graduate. I do know what you're saying, because wouldn't you want to go there? Like, wouldn't you want to do that? Like, wouldn't you want to maybe be like the end of your career where you did get your first opportunity? Like, that would be really cool. And he ended up turning the team around. That'd be a hell of a success story for his career in basketball throughout the NBA. But I like that if you go to a game, no one's gonna know what the hell this guy in the beard that looks like, hey, why is Jason Kelsey booing the Bucks? I'm like, dude, that's not Jason Kelsey, but he just doesn't like this guy.
Dude, the thing is, I don't even know. Like, I'm just more upset that he denied them the interview. That's the thing. It's like,
is that like petty to you or something?
Yeah, a little bit. Dude, they gave you your start. You can still deny the job. Like, you don't have to take the job. I don't think Tom Gores or anybody's actually going to convince you otherwise. Like, it's up to you. Just be like, yeah, no, dude, I don't like what you have. I think it's an impossible task. I'm not up for the challenge.
Yeah.
Like, I would respect you so much more for saying that. But just the fact that you don't even want to sit in the room with them and hear them out. You're not even going to let them pitch to you, and you don't even want to swing? Dude, that's weak to me. That's weak to me. That's just, it irritates me. Because that shows me that there's a little piece of him that says, you know what, dude, I cannot rebuild that franchise. I cannot return them to the glory days. So I'm out before I even get the opportunity. I'm just going to pull myself out of this. And that's what pisses me off.
It's like an episode of Shark Tank. And for this, I'm out. Like,
yep,
I don't want to do it. I think it would have been more savage for him to actually have an interview and tell them off.
Yeah,
like, dude, like totally what you have here is just horrible. Like, I can't. No one wants it because of how bad it is. Like, that would have been better. Maybe that would have helped us out. Like, maybe Tom Gores would be like, maybe this guy's right. Maybe we need to get rid of Troy. Like, maybe maybe he's not it. Like, maybe this guy needs to stop drinking mixed drinks on a beach somewhere and actually do his job. 5th overall pick again, baby.
Jon
Hear that, honey? One more year.
Jon Horst did not want the responsibility for cleaning house. He did not want it.
I don't blame him. I don't have the hate that you. I hate other things more than Jon Horst. I can't put that much effort like your stories into his bio to attack this man.
I'm sure there's someone that's going to rip me apart.
I don't like this new topic though. Not a fan of this new topic though. I'm going to lose it.
That's what it feels like is going to happen, okay?
I don't want it to happen. Just tell the people, tell them what it is. Tell them what it is.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't feel like it's going to be Dennis Lindsey. I feel like there's a small chance it could be Scott Perry. You know, guys that actually had success with other franchises. I don't believe Tim Conley's coming to Detroit. He has too good of a thing going on in Minnesota. JJ Redick, I never believed that. I believe it's going to be Dwane Casey. He's already there. He has some success with the team. He knows basketball. He's never had a front office job, but I mean, apparently you don't need to take these jobs. So I believe he's going to be the new president of basketball operations. And I hope if it is, he actually has the balls to fire Troy Weaver and make basketball decisions and doesn't let Arn Tellem or Tom Gores get in the way. Like, I understand Tom Gores is the owner and he gets the final say in all of it, but I hope that Dwane Casey says, look, dude, you put me in a position to take you to the promised land. You want me in, you put me here. Let me do my job. Let me cook.
Do you know how savage that would be for him to get? He was a coach, which Troy Weaver was his boss. He is now, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to promote you, Dwane Casey. Oh, sweet. I'm promoted. Hey, Troy, like, I'm not doing this no more. Like, you sucked when you were my boss, and I'm over it. That would be the biggest karma is a bitch I've ever seen in my entire life. If they bring Dwane Casey in and he just says, I'm in charge of all of you. I hated you. Like, you're all done. That would be.
It'd be pretty awesome.
I want to be if I could be a fly on the wall, it would be in a meeting like that just to listen to, like, man, you have pissed me off for so long, and I'm done. I think that would be the only win out of hiring Dwane Casey, because you know Troy will not be there if Dwane Casey becomes the new president.
I don't even know what I would do or say if Dwane Casey becomes the president. He decides to keep Troy Weaver on in the general manager position.
Then that means there was no toxic anywhere within that facility when he was coaching. Then that proves that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe it just shows that Dwane Casey doesn't have the balls to make those moves. I don't know. But whoever they get for the president, just make some damn moves, man.
Somebody hit somebody. Like, what is going on? Like, can we fire somebody, please? I don't care who it is. Release somebody on the team. Do something. Please change it.
Dwane Casey just has so much pent up like rage in him and anger from like being a part of this organization for so many years. He's like, I'm firing the custodial staff. That's what I'm doing.
Like, shit,
that's
they're gone. To
go to. Yeah. You never know. But I mean, there's a real possibility Dwane Casey could be the president of basketball operations.
Is he long term though, or is he a Band-Aid?
Probably most likely a Band-Aid, because
that's what I'm thinking.
He's in his like late 60s, I believe.
Yeah, I think if they do it, it's just because they haven't found who they really want. So they're just like, all right, we're gonna give you this for 2 years. Don't mess it up too bad, please. Like,
yeah, because I was reading something that it was a Yahoo article, but they were talking about the turnkey company that the Pistons are using to help find the president of basketball operations. It's apparently led by Billy King, who is not a good basketball mind in his own right. So I'm just like, dude, this sucks, dude. You're already an inept organization, and you're going to a guy that could not make it work in any organization he was worth to help you find the guy. He probably just ends up finding himself. That'd be just crazy for Billy King, where he's just like, you know what? I'm the guy that could do this. This is just a mess. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. It's really not.
And hear me out though too. After this draft lottery, and we get the 5th pick again, do you want to be the new president to come in? I think we would have had more opportunity to get someone if maybe we had the 1 or the number 2. I think that plays a part in searching for this. I think that's why Dwane Casey is just like, here you go, dude. Like, I got nothing for you. This is what we're gonna do, and you lead the team from here.
It does, but I mean, there's so many other factors: the cap space, the young players on the team, the fact that you have Cade Cunningham. Like, that should all be enticing to anybody potentially taking over that position. So, but I don't know. I really don't. Like, I'm kind of at a loss right now, because I think every name we've heard of is slowly becoming not a possibility, and they're just going to eventually just say, we're going to promote Dwane Casey.
Is this job on Indeed? Because we could probably apply together. Honestly, like, I'm down to put my name in. I have warehouse experience for 8 years. I don't know if that does anything for the NBA. And you cut hair. Like, we could do it. I feel like our resume is just as good as everybody else's. And then once we become president, we each get to do one. We get to one task. We are not allowed to veto each other's move. And I'm shipping Isaiah Stewart to whatever team will take him for I don't care how much money, but he is no longer on my team.
Yeah, see, that's
sorry. No, you can't veto. We're in this together.
No, I mean, I hear you out. It would be something I'd be disappointed in. Don't get me wrong. Unless the deal you're getting back is just, it just drops.
We could get him for some apples, and we'll bring Darko back.
We have to bring Darko back. That is one move we make. That's not my move. That cannot be vetoed.
No, I agree with that.
Agreed to bring.
But we're changing LCA though. We're not pizza anymore. We got to do something with apples. We got to do orchard.
We got to convince Tom Gores to build our own arena. Something state of the art where you're not even sitting, but you're suspended over the court.
That'd be pretty
You're not
cool.
even sitting in seats anymore. You're just like on a roller coaster, just hanging above the court. That'd be the craziest thing.
Still sucks. Like, yeah, it'd be great.
Hey, well, we'd have one arena that would just be crazy. Can you imagine shooting free throws and there's just people hanging above you behind the backboard while you're shooting them?
Jesus.
I mean, not in like in a terrible way, but like they're just eating popcorn and food and they're just standing above you. I don't know. Maybe they throw stuff. That may be pretty
That'd
bad.
probably be really dangerous.
Yeah, that would probably be really dangerous. And you made me lose my train of thought. Oh no, I was thinking like, yeah, if there is an Indeed application that we can apply for,
we gotta
there's
do something with this. Like we need to put the application out for the Detroit Pistons. Like I want to do this.
I wish I was in it.
We can put it together. I'll make a whole thing for an application, and we can have viewers submit their resumes, and we could pick viewers.
Yeah, and you have to show an understanding that you know how to use the trade machine.
Yes,
You have to know that, and you have to like know the rules of being a president or a GM of a basketball team. Like
we
you
could
have
do
to
this.
understand how contracts work. We could, but I don't really have the time for that. So I'm gonna leave it up to you. If you want to make an application for the Detroit Pistons, feel free.
It can't be that long. I feel like they're just given the job by now. It shouldn't only be like 4 questions.
Well,
I mean,
you
that's
think of
probably
those
why
4
Horst turned it
questions.
down. The first question was, "What's your favorite color?" I was like, "What is this? I don't know what I'm doing here."
What's your full legal name? That's the first question. How would you build around Lindsey Hunter? Whoa, you haven't even
Whoa.
updated this thing yet? Jeez.
Oh my God. What topic are we on? What are we doing
Oh,
now?
I'm leading us into it. So what hurts more? The Detroit Pistons have a long history of making questionable decisions when it comes to the NBA draft. They've drafted Stanley Johnson over Devin Booker, Luke Kennard over Donovan Mitchell, Killian Hayes over Tyrese Halliburton, not to mention Tyrese Maxey, not to mention Cole Anthony. A lot of guys they took Killian Hayes over. It hurts. It really does. But what hurts more, missing out on those guys or missing out on Victor Wembanyama last season? What do you think hurts more?
Probably Wembanyama, to be
I
honest with
think so
you.
too.
Like, and what you said before, I think is a billion% correct. Like, they didn't want to send him to Detroit. He didn't want to go to Detroit. Why would you want to go to Detroit? Like, and plus two with a because we weren't coaching carouseling them, were we? We had it was Monty's first year.
With
That was
what?
last year, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
this
Yeah.
past season was,
So,
yeah.
and I think they would have rather stuck Wembanyama with Greg Popovich, that's a Hall of Fame coach, than to stick him with a first year Monty Williams. Like, I think what you said is completely right, but from what hurts the most is definitely missing out on Wembanyama because I think Wembanyama should have been a more close favorite for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Like his statistics were phenomenal. In which also I'll make the comment while I'm talking about awards that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got screwed on an MVP this year. I think he deserved that, mightily deserved that, but that could be another podcast. We can talk about that. I don't know. You can't. It's hard to tell with these guys coming into the league who's going to blow up the way that they do. Like Donovan Mitchell is absolutely trying to save Cleveland right now in this playoff series. Like everything that I said back on that podcast with Doc that I didn't want Donovan Mitchell in a Detroit uniform, I lied. I completely lied. I suck. I apologize. Please come to fucking Detroit. Like I fucked up. I completely did. And watching him in the playoffs, the way he is playing and trying to save them is incredible. So I'm gonna say it's Wembanyama, but my next choice is not grabbing Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I've thought about that topic over and over and over again where I'm like, did I really say I wouldn't want the Pistons to bring in Donovan Mitchell because he's too much of an alpha? And then I was trying to like in my head, I'm talking to myself where I'm like, yeah, but Lance, this is Cade's team. Do you really want it to be Donovan Mitchell's team or anything like that? Like it was the stupidest thing I've ever said. So, well, not the stupidest thing I've ever said, but on this podcast, while I've been podcasting with you, it's right up there. It's number one. Like
You're
I
not
would
the
take
only
Donovan
one making
Mitchell in a
mistakes,
heartbeat.
man. I really messed it up too. Like, and I was watching, I think one of the games in the series, he scored like 37 points or something like that. He had the last like 24 points within the third and fourth quarter for Cleveland. And I said to myself, I said it out loud. I said, I cannot believe that I said this man, I don't want him on my team. Like I said it, I'm like, I literally apologized out loud. It's like, I really messed this up. Like that's on me. And
Yep.
he's a freaking dog. Like if I could go back and we can get one of these to be different, whether it's Stanley Johnson, Booker, or Kennard, Mitchell, or getting Wembanyama, I think we overall as a team we look so much different because I don't think like we end up getting that Cade pick.
Oh yeah, we definitely don't.
We don't get the Cade pick, and we don't have to deal with that mess. And that's maybe a draft that I don't think we're completely successful, but maybe we get more lucky in the lottery, and then we get a higher pick, and maybe a Jalen Green falls into the team as well. Like you don't know. So, but missing out on Wembanyama was really unfortunate. But we all knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I want to say that. I don't know. It's so tough for me because I wasn't like super high on Devin Booker when he was coming out because I was like, well, he was the sixth man, at Kentucky. Stanley Johnson, he started. This dude has like the body to be a great NBA player. Like I'm all in on Stanley Johnson. Like so, I'm upset with the way I looked at and viewed Devin Booker's more than anything, but I definitely wanted Stanley Johnson. And then at the time, I don't know who I thought they were going to take over Luke Kennard. Like, I didn't think Luke Kennard was the answer, but I really didn't know a ton about Donovan Mitchell. But I remember when I first watched Donovan Mitchell play his rookie year, I'm thinking, that dude reminds me so much of Dwayne Wade. It's unreal. Just like a little bit different, but like there was still enough of him where I'm like, dude, this dude's like the next Dwayne Wade in the NBA. And I absolutely love Donovan Mitchell's game. And then I did want Killian Hayes over almost any point guard in that draft. So like it's hard for me to be upset. But what hurts more, I still think Victor Wembanyama is what hurts the most, even though I knew Detroit wasn't going to get that number one overall pick. But there was just a piece of me where I'm like, you know what? Maybe they will show a little favor to the Detroit Pistons, and maybe they will send them a unicorn to pair with Cade Cunningham. And that's what hurts the most is just because how invested I was in that 17-win season. And it was just, yeah, it was pitiful. It really was.
I don't think I'm going to get lit up for this. I don't think Luke Kennard was a bad pick. I really don't think Luke Kennard was that. I mean, yeah, having Donovan Mitchell drafted next and then Bam Adebayo, like that's really bad luck. And I think that's also the OG Anunoby draft, and Jared Allen was also drafted that year. Like you can say you miss every year. Every team has it. It's not just Detroit. Like you can look at these draft picks like, whoa, we should have. You don't know. You don't know how well these players are going to be. But I think Luke Kennard, I think he kind of maybe fell into the situation kind of like Sadiq Bey did. Like I think they started asking too much out of him, and he was playing kind of out of pocket and not how he succeeds. So I thought he was going to have more luck actually when he got traded to the Clippers, but his role just started diminishing as they just started signing superstars. But I never thought the Luke Kennard pick was a horrible opportunity for him. I thought he was good. I thought the only thing I thought him coming out of Duke is that he was a sophomore. So being super young, getting drafted like that, I thought that was risque. But I don't know, man. The 2017 draft, there's a lot you can say with misses for people this year.
This past season, he shot 45% from three on 6 attempts. The one thing that's always hurt Luke Kennard is he's just never really healthy. Like the most games he's played in a season is 73. That was his rookie year with Detroit. But I always thought he'd eventually would be a sixth man. For the Detroit Pistons, and I kind of was like, man, he kind of had some flashes of Ginobili to his game because he is lefty, and he wasn't as athletic as Manu Ginobili, but like some of the finishes he had, where I'm like, wow, yeah, this guy, he'd be probably pretty solid as a sixth man. But dude, some Pistons fans thought he was going to be an all-star.
No.
So that's like the blood of Luke Kennard is something that I'm like, I enjoy taking a sip of every once in a while because I was like, I knew he wasn't going to be an all-star, but I thought he'd be a pretty good sixth man.
I mean, would you agree that we asked him to do much out of his game? Like, I think that's
100%,
what,
100%.
and I think that's what put him through, like, suffered more injuries too, because he was playing more minutes. They're asking more out of him. He was a scorer at Duke, but he wasn't the guy at Duke. Because I think in 2017, I'll have to look up that roster. But he was a role player to me, but we were asking him to be an all-star and giving him all-star minutes, and that's not just who he was. So,
his final season in Detroit, he was averaging 32.9 minutes per game.
Yeah,
and taking
So
7 threes per game if you round up, shooting 40%,
that's
which isn't
crazy.
bad. Yeah. No, I would say too. I mean, if we're excluding Victor Wembanyama from this conversation, the reason I would say Donovan Mitchell would hurt the most is because he really was rumored to be the pick for the Detroit Pistons. He had an incredible pre-draft workout for him. Like he had everything. He looked great according to all reports. So it seemed like Luke Kennard just kind of came out of nowhere
Yeah.
for when the Pistons drafted him. But it does hurt a little bit with Devin Booker just because, born in Grand Rapids, played basketball in Granville before he went to like I don't know, some school in Kansas or something like that, or Missouri. Once they found he was a prodigy, that hurts a little more. But again, I really wanted Stanley Johnson. In some universe, Stanley Johnson's an incredible player still for the Detroit Pistons right now. In some universe,
That Duke roster was loaded. That was
they always
Jason
are.
Jason Tatum, Grayson Allen, Luke Kennard. They had a very good team. I remember I watched this Duke team play at Notre Dame with Grayson Allen. He got booed a lot. He likes to trip people. It was
He's a
good.
dirty player. He's a dirty player. How would you rank these first picks? I forget where I got this from, but this is not an original topic. I've seen it float around for a few days. But it has a lot to do with because we're talking about the draft and we're talking about the draft lottery. So let's talk about former number one overall picks. How would you rank these former number one overall picks? Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, Cade Cunningham, and Paolo Banchero, 1 through 4. How do you put those guys in order?
And this is just how they're playing at the moment, or
Well, I
potential.
mean,
How?
all of them's playing at the moment, so I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
okay,
no, yeah. I guess you could factor in playing for the moment and potential.
okay. So I'm gonna do Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards, Paolo Banchero, Cade Cunningham.
Ooh, Cade at number 4. Why is
I
that?
have I have Cade last because he's not showing me the potential. Like he's I think it was with Doc when he was talking about you don't see the fire in Cade. Like you really don't. You don't
Ooh,
see him. And from these other picks, dude, Paolo Banchero and Anthony Edwards just dropped 44 points on Denver. They just lost again. Now it's a 2-2 series going back to Denver. So everyone at work that I said that they were not going to get swept. You're welcome. Uh, but Anthony Edwards is proving himself that he belongs in this league, whether he's Michael Jordan's son or not, that no one knows. Wembanyama, Wembanyama won Rookie of the Year and was arguably a top 3 spot for Defensive Player of the Year. And then Paolo Banchero, I'd say the Magic are definitely an above average team, but he was averaging in the playoffs. I think he was averaging over 30 points a game. So just with what they're doing right now, and then I put Cade at last because 28 game losing streak. I don't see the potential as much as I want to right now out of Cade. And with those other guys, I mean, they're carrying franchises at the moment.
Victor Wembanyama was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting as well. I would say Victor's number 1. Anthony Edwards is number 2 because I really think Anthony Edwards has launched himself into best 2 guard on the planet, at
Yes.
least for the moment. Even if it's
Yes.
only for like a couple seasons, he is the number 1 2 guard in the NBA. I don't care who else you're trying to take over him. It's Anthony Edwards. I would actually put Cade number 3 just because I've watched so much of him. And then I would put Paolo number 4, but it's so close between Paolo and Cade. I feel like their ceilings are a lot lower than Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama for good reason. So those guys are 3 and 4 for me, and they're interchangeable. But there's also that Detroit Pistons bias for me picking Cade at number 3 because I feel like if you put Cade on the Orlando Magic and in place of Paolo, they still have the same success. Like if the rosters are the exact same, I think Cade he's going to be named an all-star just like Paolo was. He's going to be the face of that franchise just like Paolo is. They're going to make the playoffs just like they did. And I feel like if Paolo was on the Detroit Pistons, you're still probably a 14, maybe a 16 win team. Because I feel like their talent alone can't carry that team because the roster is just so bad. So that's why those two are interchangeable for me.
No, I mean that makes sense. You can always. It's I preach it. I'll preach it to the day I die. Some of these guys, I mean, they're all good enough to play in the league. They all obviously played well in college or G League or wherever they came from, different country. Doesn't matter. If they're in the NBA draft, they're good enough to play in the league. And how their ceilings are like met faster is the situation they get drafted into. Cade was drafted into a really shitty situation, and he's still in it. Paolo had a team that was on the up and coming. Their roster is very deep and it is very good. We both have Wembanyama at number one because just look at him, like he's a monster. Like he's it's in, he. I think I might throw in a little parlay for next year for NBA awards, and I'll give Wembanyama Defensive Player of the Year because I think Rudy Gobert is a little overrated. Um, but Anthony Edwards, I think by next year, if we do this kind of like if we do this again with this like the next number one overall pick, I think Anthony Edwards succeeds to number one over Wembanyama because I think this is just the start of the dominance that he's going to be providing us in the NBA for the next 5 years.
You think he'll be the favorite to win MVP next season?
It's possible. I don't see why he couldn't. I could you could throw him in there. You could always throw Luca in there. I think the days of the Steph Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant eras are over. Nikola will be in there. Joel, if Joel can stay healthy because of the new rules, you have to play X amount of minutes. And I don't know if you saw, because Naz Reid, I think Naz Reid did deserve the sixth man of the year. I think he did earn it. But did you see that Dante DiVincenzo missed it by like 18 seconds because you have
Yeah,
to have a certain amount of minutes played
within
throughout
the
the season?
65, yeah,
Yes,
within the
with the
65-game window.
correct.
Yeah, so did Malik Monk. He actually
Yep.
missed because of minutes too, and
So
I think Malik Monk should have won it.
sixth man of the year.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like phenomenal for
yeah.
Sacramento.
But yeah, Anthony Edwards, he has all the potential for next year to be the guy in the NBA. I think he could be the face of the NBA by the time he's 24. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that he's a good kid. I mean,
Yep.
and I love watching the videos with Golden State with their in-player interview saying that they don't see like the competitiveness in him, they don't see all these things in him, and that I think that really kind of jolted him to be the way he is. I mean, it took him a second to get hot and to become the guy he is in the league now. But man, dude, we're in for the NBA is in very good hands right now with young superstars, and I think it's going to be great to watch him grow. So, but you have to battle Jokic for an MVP, man. Like he's going to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, he's not going to win anymore. Though they gave him 3, they're not giving him any more than that. He can, even though I know you said Shea got robbed, but I don't know. I think Nikola Jokic, he had I think Oklahoma City and Denver had the same record, same amount of wins this year. And Jokic, he's never won it as the number 1 seed. I just think his numbers this year were I think he almost averaged a triple double, like
Close.
26, 12, and 9. It was just unreal.
Yeah,
And then Shea was I think 31, 6, and 5, I want to say. I think those
yeah.
were his numbers. So
I mean,
I
to
mean,
look at Shea, I get what you're saying, but to look at Shea's stats like that as a guard, I think that's super impressive. We know who Nikola is. Like
yeah.
Nicola's going to be here. I don't think he's going to stay in the league that long because I really think he does want to go home and race horses. Like I think that's what he really wants to do. So I could see him winning maybe. The way that they're playing Minnesota right now, if they can get by Minnesota, I think they have a nice path to go to the NBA Finals again, and he can win another ring. But with Jokic, I think he really treats being an NBA player like as a legit job. Like I just do this and then I go home. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I really do like Jokic. But he's not. Do you think they're going to start favoring guards for an MVP candidate then if Anthony Edwards starts blowing up like he is? Because it's just been big men the last 5 years.
I just think they're not going to give it to Nikola Jokic again. I think he's going to have MVP worthy seasons. I just feel like they're going to start moving in a different direction, which is crazy because he's only 28.
Yeah.
But it's just there's a real thing as voter fatigue, and like we've already been seeing it with him. Like advanced numbers prove that he was MVP. Statistically proved, like just if you look at the basic numbers, which like points per game, rebounds per game, assist,
Yeah.
those scream MVP.
Yeah.
he is just we're witnessing one of the greatest players of all time
Yes.
in front of us, but we're not going to give him the accolades because we didn't do it for LeBron. We didn't do it for Michael Jordan, so we're not going to do it for Nikola Jokic. We're
Yeah.
not going to do it. So that's why I think Anthony Edwards, Shea, Luka, it's their time to start winning MVPs, and those guys are going to be competing for them, I believe, and probably a few other players. But I definitely think it's Anthony Edwards' award to lose next season.
Yeah, and even if so, because we talked about, I think we talked a lot off the pod too, as well with Cat moving on to a different team or not when it comes to contracts. Like, because they could move another big with having Naz Reid now being a starter for that team, so that could be good for them for cap space and giving Anthony Edwards more of the opportunity to be the guy he is. I think Cat shot the ball like 20 times tonight. He was like 7 for 20 or 6 for 20. You should not be shooting the ball that much with a young man on your team that's putting up the numbers that he is. So if they do end up dropping this series to Denver, I think there might be some moves to give maybe Anthony Edwards another weapon, which will only make him 10 times better than he already is. So,
you know what I love about him though? I don't know. Did you see the press conference? I think the second game they beat Denver.
Taking all the blame. Was it after they won?
Yeah, it was after the one where they were like he was praising Jaden McDaniels, and
Yeah.
I think I love his leadership.
Well, the third game he took all the responsibility for it as well. Yep. And I think at 22 years old doing that already, when we all know it's not him. We all know it's not him. Yeah. But to be the guy to be humble enough, because he understands, I think he's starting to grow into the position where he knows that it's his team now. And I think he's taking that on very well for 22. So Minnesota is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. They're going to be a very good team within the next 5 years.
You know what I think happens to Nikola Jokic?
I think selling apples with horses.
Oh yeah, that too. But I'm talking about while he's still playing.
Oh, okay.
I think he'll be with Denver. Man, this is crazy because I really want this to play out the way it does. I think he'll be with Denver till he's like 34, so like the next 6 years. But I think he ultimately ends up going to Dallas and playing with Luka. Like I would have loved, like when he's past his MVP days, when he's on his final, he's probably averaging like 17 points per game, but he's still just so skilled and the passing's there. I would love to see that happen.
Well, they talked about it at the All-Star game.
Yeah,
and that's the first time Jokic ever mentioned playing with anybody other than the people on his team. Because they asked him, it's like, would you like to pair up? And he's like, he said that Luka would have to come to Denver because he's not leaving. Like, he's like, I'm happy here. Like, I'm not going anywhere else. And I think Luka stays loyal to Dallas. So that would be really cool. I just hope next year it's not like Kevin Durant and LeBron going to Miami for something stupid. Like, I'm curious. This draft's not going to affect a lot of things with free agency, I don't think, just because I think we said that no one's going to be trading up for picks this year. Like, it's not worth it. So I think everyone is going to be going free agent frenzy with all these guys on these super teams. They're with like really high market value. They're all going to get moved around.
I mean, there is something to be, because I think this is the first year the NBA has the
God bless you.
Thank you. First and second apron. So you're going to see some players be moved because teams have to get under that certain threshold. So there's going to be some guys that are on the move, but I don't see any super teams happening. Like maybe LeBron James goes to Golden State when they, clean house and him and Steph Curry have a little bit of a run. Maybe Kevin Durant goes to Miami and I feel like, because I think Eric Spoelstra said we can get the most out of you or something. I feel like there will be some changing in the NBA and it's going to be a lot of fun to see. But I do agree with you. I don't think there's going to be any crazy super teams happening anytime soon. I feel like that era is kind of done.
Are we to the point where the era of Curry, LeBron, KD, is that championship era done? Are we not going to see it anymore?
As the number one guy, I don't think you'll ever see those guys win a championship as the number one again. But if Steph Curry somehow finds his way to Denver, yeah, he's probably going to win another championship.
Man, that'd be crazy. I don't think it would fit. at all. I don't think it would fit, but man, it would be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah.
Dude, him and Nicola, that passing and his movement, that would be just beautiful. That would be
I,
so incredible.
But
I'd love to see that pairing.
Curry's he's on the tail end right now. I think he stays loyal and he won't leave Golden State. I think he's just going to end it there. He's already accomplished so much, man. Like he's a Hall of Famer. It's too easy. Too easy to say.
I would love to see him play 1 year in Charlotte. I know people have said that before, but that'd be cool, just like his dad did. That'd be so cool. I would love to see it. Yeah, but
I think the league's in good hands, and unfortunately, the Pistons don't have any hands a part of that. But for other teams, it's really nice to watch them go and win basketball games. So
we got to end this on a bad note.
We don't have to. What else do you want to talk about? We can say something positive.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, it's all good.
There's nothing positive. Today sucked. We got the fifth pick again. Like today sucked. There's no good things about it. Like that's what the title of this should be. Today sucked. We're number 5 again. Like that's what we're doing, man. What are we doing here, Lance? Like why we're trying so hard to be so positive about this, but we just keep taking shit every single time, man.
We do.
Dwane Casey's next. Dwane Casey's in next. I'm telling you, man.
Okay.
And if that's the case, I'm gonna get a shirt and I'm gonna have it say "Fire Troy Weaver" and I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna wear it for the podcast.
I'm actually surprised those aren't being sold right now.
I'm gonna start. I'll make my own. I'll make it tie dye too.
All right, that works. Tie dye always sells. Tie dye always sells. Thank you guys for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Do us a favor, go to Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and hit the follow button. After you hit the follow button, rate with 5 stars and leave a review by telling us who you would draft with the 5th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. But more importantly, tell a Pistons fan